Pitt position previews next on Mark Rogers TV. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we love each and every day with the best bloggers, broadcasters, and writers in the industry. Help build the channel. Please do your Amazon shopping using the link you see in the description section below. It doesn't cost you an extra penny, and certainly you do not have to buy the product. Just do your Amazon shopping using that link. Please join the voice of college football community over on Patreon as well. We've got a lot of great things in store for you. So we are getting to as many teams as we possibly can. So expect like 40 teams before August that we will break down each position on a number of Power 5 teams, including the Pitt Panthers. We got Jim Hammett on the line from Panther Lair. So Jim, defensive back, I'm used to Pitt having the one guy, whether he's a corner or more recently a safety that is an all ACC type performer, fringe All-America type guy that's got elite ability. I know Damar Hamlin's coming back. He had 76 tackles last year. He was one of your top performers. Your thoughts on the secondary?
Yeah, I think the secondary is pretty strong for Pitt this year, just from a talent standpoint and an experience standpoint. And, to start it off with Damar Hamlin, he came in with a lot of fanfare, 4-star recruit, Pittsburgh Central Catholic. Pittsburgh Central Catholic is, a few mere blocks from the University of Pittsburgh. So he is a Pittsburgh kid through and through. He finally put it together last year. He had some injuries to start his career, and he played well last year. So I think he's the key to this secondary. But you also look at a guy like Dane Jackson at corner, another Pittsburgh local, has played a lot of football, has been the starter the past 2 years. So he's going to be a 3-year starter at cornerback. And I think he's one of the better corners in the ACC. I think he has an NFL future. I think he has some very good athleticism. And, opposite of him, a guy that really emerged last year who made some plays, Jason Pinnock, a junior player from Connecticut. He had a big interception in the Notre Dame game, had one in the Wake Forest game. He looked really good. And even, in those losses late in the year to Clemson and Stanford, I mean, he would go up against some future NFL guys, and he held his own. So I think those three players, they have experience and talent. And the real wild card with this, whole defense, this secondary, this whole team really is Paris Ford. He is the most talented recruit Pat Narduzzi has ever landed. For one reason or another, it just hasn't clicked for him in college. He got to Pitt late with a qualifying issue. Last year, they tried him at corner, and it just didn't really work. And, in the spring, he had a very good spring. And Pat Narduzzi, said he's leading the clubhouse to be the free safety this year. And if they can get a ball hawking safety like Paris Ford to really solidify that defense, and he lives up to what he can do, I think this Pitt secondary and Pitt defense overall can really take another big step forward next year.
Yeah, the billing is certainly there for Paris Ford. He committed a year and a half early, so he was dedicated to stay at home, stay there in Pittsburgh, play for the Panthers in his hometown as a top 5 safety in high school football, rated across the board by 247 Sports Composite and all the official rankings there. So Paris Ford, boy, that if he lives up to his billing eventually here, and the time is now, that would be a huge add to the defensive back situation. And you mentioned Hamlin, one of the very best in the ACC, and Dane Jackson, 14 passes defensed. I don't see the league leaders in the ACC, but that's got to be one of the better figures in the ACC. So when you mention him as one of the better corners in the ACC, certainly that backs it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around, and I think he's kind of he's a calming presence back there. He's not a real vocal guy, but he kind of gives off a vibe, a leadership vibe, and I think it really works for this team. So I think Dane Jackson's a good corner. I know they like Jason Pinnock, and I think another guy behind those is Damari Mathis, another junior. He's out of Florida, Lakeland, Florida, like we mentioned earlier. He's going to be on the field a lot. So I think in this ACC, you almost have to play 5 defensive backs a lot because you're going to get spread out. So I think, Damari Mathis is the kind of guy that's probably going to see a lot of time, even if he's not quite a starter.
So, Jim, your evaluation of the defense's play last year and transitioning based on the personnel losses and gains, what you would expect this year in terms of level of play?
I mean, since Pat Narduzzi has taken over, it has not been, as expected. Everyone expected it would be a Michigan State, a very stout defense, a very shutdown defense. And, the 2015 team was okay. They had a couple of talented players like Jordan Whitehead, Avonte Maddox. Then 2016 was just a disaster. They were in shootouts almost every night. 2017, a little bit better. Then, last year wasn't that bad. I mean, they did have their moments. They did, they really got crushed by Central Florida. They really lit them up, and, they played in some barn burners. But, in some games, they held down Notre Dame pretty well. That was one of the best teams they played. I mean, during that run where they ended up winning the Coastal, I thought there was a lot of good moments in there. So I think it's, again, like kind of symbolic of some of the players, like we talked about the defensive linemen who need to put it together for a full season. If they can get it all clicking, all 11 guys clicking at once, I think it could be a pretty good defense. It might not be a great defense, but it should be and has the ability to be, a top 50 defense, which you would have expected from Pat Narduzzi, but hasn't happened yet under Pat Narduzzi at Pitt.
All right, breaking down Pitt football with Jim Hammett has been joining us here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football for years. You can join Jim and the rest of the staff at Panther Lair, covering Pitt football and basketball. Jim, we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, anytime.